Hey, what's happening, football peeps? It's me, Crazyfrankie, and I'd like to welcome you to my Week 16 for key game picks. Now, before I get into all of my chatter, I just want to let you guys know for a couple of things. Number one, I know this video is a little bit late. Normally, I would get this video up on Wednesday. It'd be already up and all, but unfortunately, I had to scale that back because personal reasons. And number two, next week's video is going to be a special edition video because it is the final week of the regular season. So I don't know if there's going to be 4 key games that I will discuss, but mostly what the video would consist will mostly be all about the playoff scenarios, in my opinion, of who may make the playoffs and what key games could come that I could come up with. I'm sorry, I'm starting a little bit here. Sorry about that. It's been a long week for me personally, but whatever will come into mind in week 17. So every week 17 video I've done, it's always been a special edition because a lot of it deals with who will get into the postseason and who will get into the playoffs. My views of who teams may get in, and we look at the scenarios, and then what key games could come out of it that I consider that may be the decisive games that will focus on what the playoff picture will look like. Anyways, alright, let's take a look at the standings now going into this week. Let's begin in the AFC. The Patriots are the 1 seed. The Oakland Raiders are the 2nd seed. The Pittsburgh Steelers are the 3rd seed. The Houston Texans are the 4th seed. And the current playoff spots, the 5th seed right now is the Kansas City Chiefs, and the Miami Dolphins hold the 6th seed. In the NFC, the Dallas Cowboys still hold the 1 seed. The Seattle Seahawks are the 2nd seed. The Atlanta Falcons currently are the 3rd seed. The Detroit Lions go to the 4th seed. The New York Giants hold the first playoff wildcard spot as the 5th seed. And the Green Bay Packers now have moved into the 6th seed. Alright, not much that came out of what I personally think they came out of week number 15, but a lot of it, I mean, some of it was not a surprise. Of course, the Patriots have clinched their division, and they also have a first-round bye. The Raiders have already clinched a playoff berth, but they haven't clinched the division just yet. For teams like Baltimore, they were barely able to hang on against Philadelphia. Was a bit of a surprise, but Philadelphia going for that 2-point conversion kind of really hurt them. That hurt their team more than it did Baltimore. Baltimore got lucky winning that game when they should have gone for the field goal, in all honesty. So definitely now it's going to come down to that Baltimore-Pittsburgh matchup to determine first place in that AFC North division. Right now, it's a 3-team race right now in the AFC South with Houston, Tennessee, and Indianapolis now trying to jockeying for position to who may win that division, because that's the only way they're going to get into the postseason is if they win their own division. Miami surprisingly still holding on to that last spot, even though, I mean, give them credit, Matt Moore. I mean, they were playing a messed up Jets team that really wasn't going anywhere, and then they made matters worse by getting humiliated at the Meadowlands. So I look at it, AFC starting to form a little bit more. It's starting to become more clear. NFC right now, a lot of things are going to come in mind, and it's definitely going to come down to week 17 for some teams. Now, Dallas has already clinched the playoff berth, but they haven't clinched the division just yet. If they win out next week, they will clinch the division regardless, because they're still 2 games up on I think they're 1 game up right now on the Giants. But I don't think it'll matter, because I could pretty much see the Cowboys wrapping it up here. Seattle's already clinched the West, so the best thing they can do right now is try to hold the 2nd seed. Atlanta still needs to watch out for Tampa Bay. Even though they haven't won they're still on a roll right now, but I think they still got to watch out for Tampa Bay. And Atlanta winning last week was big. I mean, they were playing the Rory 49ers, so that was a gimme win for them. Now, Detroit is the one they're in the most danger right now of missing the playoffs. because they know full well these next two games are critical to them if they want to hold on to win the NFC North Division. And I just think they got a tougher road now to get into the postseason because they got Dallas coming up, and you got that Week 17 matchup with Green Bay, which I have a feeling, no question, that's going to come down to that final week. The Giants, I think, are in a good position. I think they will get in, but let's wait and see what happens the rest of the way. So that's pretty much it for my thoughts. Let's get into these picks quickly because I'm already late with this video and I want to try to get this up now before the Thursday night game. Alright, let's begin with key game number 1. It is the Indianapolis Colts at the Oakland Raiders. The Raiders are a 3.5-point favorite. That's probably just about right. But the way the Indianapolis Colts played the Vikings last week, this could come as quite a surprise right now. Now, the Oakland Raiders all season long have been fortunate not to play into a trap game. And the only reason why I say, well, what about the loss to Kansas City? Well, it's within their own division. I wouldn't call it a trap game because Kansas City knew them very well. But if there's ever a trap game that comes to mind, this game could be it. This game could be it for the Raiders as a trap game, and it could not have come at a worse time. But anyways, Andrew Luck went 21 of 28, 250 yards, 2 touchdown passes, in a big win against Minnesota. Now, Derek Carr went 19 of 30, 213 yards, and 1 touchdown pass over a victory against the Chargers. You would say, now, the only reason why I would say the trap game comes to mind, Indianapolis is fighting for their playoff lives right now in their own division. Basically, yeah, this is a game they must win in order to stay in contention in that AFC South division. Now, the Raiders really, they don't have to play for much right now because they currently have an edge now after Kansas City lost last week against Tennessee. But if this comes to mind here, another AFC South team, now, this is a team right now that the Oakland Raiders better be ready for. Now, I know you probably say, look, Indianapolis is kind of a weak team. Well, the way they played last week, who's to say that they'll play good this week? And this is why, I mean, a lot of you are going to disagree with me on this. And it's rightfully so. I mean, I know the Raiders are probably a better team in this one. But I'm actually going to go with the Indianapolis Colts here. They are fighting for their playoff lives, and the way they played last week, keep in mind the Raiders defense, even though they're getting a little bit better, but who's to say if the Indianapolis Colts here and Andrew Luck can find a way to pick at their defense? And if the Colts are playing the way that they did last week, that is trouble for the Raiders. The Raiders are going to have to find a way to pressure Luck in order to win. And this is why, if there's going to be a trap game here, I think this is it. And it could not have come in a bad time, especially when they know Kansas City's still behind them, and they currently hold the tiebreaker. So I'm going to go with the Indianapolis Colts here. I sense an upset here. I'm sensing an upset coming in this game. I know a lot of you are going to disagree with me, especially you Raider fans. Fine by me. You can say what you want. But I think the Raiders better be ready for this game. Because if they not, I can smell an upset here. And I think this might be the game to do it. I think the Colts will make it a game. The Raiders should not be fooled by this. If they don't pressure Luck, I think the Colts are going to end up coming out of Oakland a win here. So I'm going to go with the Colts here. This might be my upset pick of week number 16 here. Colts over the Raiders. Key game number 2. It is the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers are a 5-point favorite in this one. There's a slight chance it could go a little bit lower. The Ravens are starting to get into a groove now. Pittsburgh's still on a roll, but they've lately been having trouble. I mean, they've had to literally come back in a lot of their games now. Let's look at some quarterback stats. Now, Flacco went 16 of 30, 206 yards with 2 touchdown passes, and a lucky win over the Eagles. Roethlisberger went 21 of 36, 286 yards, and 1 touchdown pass, a victory over the Bengals last week. So, yeah, this is a huge, huge game to determine first place here. Now, Baltimore had already beaten them earlier in the season, but if Pittsburgh beats them, Pittsburgh will hold the edge and possibly the division in this game. Now, Baltimore's defense is gonna have to really come up big. They're gonna have to really pressure Roethlisberger if they're gonna win. Now, for Pittsburgh here, they really cannot fall behind in any games right now, because they know when these two teams play, it's always physical. So who comes out the victor in this game? I'm gonna go with the Pittsburgh Steelers here. they're at home, and even a home field advantage really hasn't mean much for them all season. But I think Pittsburgh will split the series here, but it'll be a much closer game. It'll be a much, much, much close game here. More likely low scoring here because these two teams are always physical, and I expect it to be a physical game on Christmas Day because these two teams play on Christmas Day. So yeah, I'm going to go with the Steelers here, but it'll be a much closer game than people will expect here. Steelers over the Ravens. Key game number 3, a big one here in the AFC West, the Denver Broncos against the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, the Chiefs are a 4-point favorite in this one. It'll probably go down to 3. And obviously for the Denver Broncos, they're fighting for their playoff lives right now. Obviously, a loss here to KC, and Denver's pretty much done. Even though mathematically they would more likely would still be alive, but Denver would need a lot of help, and I just don't see it happening here. Now, Simeon, 25 of 40, 282 yards, no touchdown passes in the loss against the Patriots. Alex Smith, 15 of 28, 163 yards, no touchdown passes in a heartbreaking loss to the Titans last week. KC already beat Denver a couple of weeks ago after it was Thanksgiving weekend, and a field goal that went doink off of it, and it still went in. Obviously, this is going to be a close game. I can see this happening here. But the way Denver's playing right now, they obviously have no running game. Simeon is getting pressured a lot, and the way KC's defense has been playing right now, I like the Chiefs' chances in this game. And this is why you got to go with the Chiefs in this one here. I think the Chiefs will beat the Broncos here. Broncos are having way too many problems here, and by looks of it, this could be the last hurrah for the Broncos in this season. They may miss the playoffs here if they lose to KC. But don't think that KC will blow out Denver here. It'll still be a close game. I expect this game to be very, very close here. But I like KC in this one. I think KC will hold the edge here. Denver is falling apart, and this is even though their defense is still okay, but I just think now they just have no offense going for themselves, and this is why I like the Chiefs in this one. I think the Chiefs bounce back here after the loss against Denver, and this is why you got to pick the Kansas City Chiefs in this one here. Chiefs over the Broncos. And finally, key game number 4, the Detroit Lions at the Dallas Cowboys. The Cowboys are a 7-point favorite, and I do agree with that. The Lions continue to have problems on the road. They had last week against the Giants, they weren't playing when they weren't playing well. Matthew Stafford's, I think his dislocated finger is really becoming an issue now. He didn't have that much of a great performance last week against the Giants, and the Giants made him pay for it. Stafford went 24-39 and 273 yards with no touchdown passes in the loss against the Giants. Prescott finally got back on track as expected. I mean, well, this was a game that the Cowboys knew they would have. They got into a tightly contested game with the Buccaneers, but they still managed to beat them in the end. Prescott going 32 of 36, 279 yards, no touchdown passes. Obviously, the running game was more huge, and then Ezekiel Elliott really carried the load in that game. This is really an easy pick here. The Lions will continue to have trouble. Matthew Stafford's finger is going to be a huge issue, and the reason why this is a key game because Dallas may wrap up the NFC East here. Possibly the number 1 seed as well, but for Detroit though, it's much bigger for them because if they don't win this game, it'll come down to Week 17 against the Packers, and I just don't. And that is even more trouble for the Lions to end up blowing the division. But the Dallas Cowboys, I just think they have too much offensive weaponry. The Lions defense is terrible. And this is why this is an easy pick here. You got to go with the Dallas Cowboys here. Will this game be a rout? More than likely, but if the Lions have any guts left in them, they would come out and play. But really, their defense is more the issue here, as much as it is the offense. And this is why Dallas's offense is going to run over the Lions' defense here. I expect this game to be a kind of a blowout here. And this is why you got to go with the Dallas Cowboys here. Cowboys over the Lions. All right, that wraps up my picks for week number 16. As I said before, keep in mind next week's video, because it's week 17, it'll be a special edition video. Obviously, it all relates to the playoff implications, what I think who's going to come into the playoffs and who may be out of it, and maybe some key games in there. It might not be 4 games, but we'll wait and see what happens in that video. And keep in mind, that video is going to be long next week, so keep in mind, that's another thing to keep in mind. Anyways, go to the sportblog.blogspot.com for all of the NFL lines, including my picks for week number 16. And until then, I will see you guys all next week for my special edition week 17 video. Until then, take care and have a merry Christmas, happy holidays, whatever all of you guys celebrate. Hopefully you have a good time with family, or whatever that is you're going to celebrate during the holidays. Guys, take care, and I'll see you guys all next week.